So I'm watching a video by Joseph Tainter, I guess his name is. Joseph Tainter on the dynamics of the collapse of human civilization. Yeah, I think about that stuff a lot. I actually agree with a bunch of stuff this guy's saying. I'm not going to say I agree with anything, anybody says, like everything, because I don't. But all the points he's making so far I completely agree with. He's also saying it in a really mellow way because it might be a little bit alarming to people who don't quite realize that every factor is pointing towards collapse. And probably isn't anything we can do to stop it. It's a really depressing way to look at it. I know a lot of people are out there selling solutions, right? They're like, if you follow my thing, then I'll save you and all this. And I would suggest evaluating what they're offering and questioning that heavily. In fact, I'll comment on anybody's thing. I don't like to rain on other people's delusions. I do like to mix metaphors. It's always fun to, what would it be? Parade? Rain on anybody's parade. Yeah. Anyway. I think that's the situation we're in. We are going to die. Which is a little bit disturbing, and I'm not quite sure what to do with that realization. Everything indicates that to me. Every bit of everything that there is that's going on. And so, what else am I supposed to believe? Watch that guy's video if you want. What's great is he talks in real simple, nice tone and everything, and maybe it's better to read, I don't know. But I like that he's talking about very extreme ideas, and he's really mellow and stuff. I probably seem like a wild man or something. Why is everything washed out? What is going on? That's really weird. This camera is doing weird things. But yeah, what do we do with that? Because I'm not going to do it. I want to focus on the positive, right? I want to create solutions, and I give them away for free, and lifeboats for post-civilization world, and that's cool. Actually, I like my project, obviously, or I wouldn't be doing it. I think you should like it. You should support it and stuff. Send it to your friends. Anything interesting or smart, I say. But I don't have the delusion that that's going to change it. I'm not escaped from it in any way. Like, some people, I think, get a little angry with me. Like, they think somehow I don't know. I don't know what it is exactly. Maybe some people are jealous. A couple of people did admit that to me, actually. And that's cool. I don't barely want to be here sometimes, so I don't always know that there's a reason to be jealous. This is a really just difficult project in so many ways for a variety of reasons. But some people have I think for some people there's a fear that I'm basically saying that I want that to happen, that I want the collapse to happen, and that's not true at all, actually. I know that there's very tiny, minuscule little percentage of the population that actually would want to aid in the collapse of civilization voluntarily, with that being the goal. Most people are just doing it. They're aiding in the collapse of civilization with everything that they do day to day. And I think it pisses them off if some of the people say, well, fuck it, let's just pop the zit. Let's get this show on the road, because the longer we wait, the more energy we're wasting. And so, I don't think we have to do anything to cause the collapse of civilization, because the forces that are already in play to cause that are so enormous and doing so much work with so much help of everyone else that collapse is going to occur because everyone's working for it. And so I don't see any point in being part of attacking civilization at all. I would rather work on solutions. I get to enjoy the experiment of that in the meantime, and I get to feel like I'm on the side of good guys, Like, I put my money where my mouth is. I put my life where my mouth is. That sounds weird, but and so that's what I want other people to do, is to take my ideas and try those things, and that can give us maybe some form of hope. And my hope is that, because collapse could come very quick, right? I don't know that it will. Like, we've had the pandemic that just is happening, right? And it may or may not ever go away, and whatever. There'll be another one. There'll be a volcano. There'll be a meteor. Things out of our control will occur. And then we're doing all sorts of things in our own control to totally destroy everything. I'm not going to go down the whole list, but we've poisoned the earth. We're poisoning our bodies. We're actually sicker than ever before, even though some of us are living longer. That may not continue. Longevity statistics may go down. or lifespan length, average lifespan may go down. And it won't go down the same in all parts of the world, but that's pretty much guaranteed. So the way we respond to these various emergencies, I'm hoping that they will wake us up, that they'll make people more aware. And so even with the current coronavirus thing, this is 2021 right now, and I think that's been a thing that has caused some people to shake up their belief in security. Like, where does their food come from? Do they have enough toilet paper? What happens when you're broken away from your social connections? What happens to you psychologically? What happens when you don't have a job and your house is owned by the bank? Or you rent from somebody who the bank owns that building because there's a big mortgage on it. Banks own a lot of stuff. So anyway, there could be some benefits as we hit these different types of collapses, including banking collapses, that we might learn some stuff and do things differently in a way that's good, and not just be victimized by the people offering false solutions. And that's what happens is 90% of the people believe stuff that's not true at all, and the result of that is that we can't do anything positive. We're just fucked. I'm just shocked. This is so funny. My eyes were so bad for so many years. Like right now, it's still blurry, but it's different kind of blurry with the reading glasses, so they're a little off my regular vision. And I got some new glasses, and I'll wear these. I'll walk away from the computer where I was typing, right? And I've had them on this whole time, and everything's kind of blurry. And I don't notice it because I'm so used to everything being blurry, right? That I have these new glasses, and I forget that I'm not even wearing them. Like, I forget that I have a solution, for this right here. And they're awesome. These particular glasses are a donation from a fan of the Bosque, and, it's okay. I think some people like to give an individual specific object. In this case, we did the necessary work, and there was some, to go to an optometrist and get me measured and then get these cool glasses, which are awesome. These glasses are bifocals, so I can read with them. I can see up close. And they're transition lenses, so if I'm in the sun, they turn into sunglasses because I go in and out of buildings all the time. And taking on and off sunglasses and losing them is annoying. So these are all-in-one glasses. They were kind of extra expensive, because of that. And they got new frames. The other frames with the blurry lenses, the old prescription, I can see by now. Now I can see perfectly. It's great. This is just amazing. Anyway, back to donation. Thank you for the donation. This is a good idea for those of you who like to donate specific objects. There are specific objects we need here very badly. I need. And the project needs. It's going to continue. So if you like to donate specific objects, it's a little more difficult. And I do have Amazon wish lists, and they're quite well organized. I would like to write up a justification for all of those, and what I think of that product, and why I would want this type or that type, and what it's used for. That's a lot of work. There's probably 200 items on the wish list, but that's also so that people can give the thing that they want to give. Cash is ideal. Cash turns into whatever's the actual priority in the space at the time. And I allocate it really stingily, like really carefully, because I have wasted some money on some projects, but mostly I've been pretty efficient with donations. And most of it goes into supporting local families here, actually. And then I make trades with them on things. And then there's just a million other things. All the systems are messed up right now. Paying for internet. Oh shit, my internet's going to go out at the end of this month, and I do not actually have money to pay for it. I will see what happens. Yeah, I mention these things in videos. It's always a little weird because I am basically begging for money for the project, but at the same time, of course, don't do it if you don't want to, or if it's any difficulty at all for you, don't suffer. But it is a great way to be a real part of this project. And I don't always thank people enough specifically, maybe, and I don't run their names at the end of videos and things. I almost feel like that's a privacy violation. You can post it, you support it in various places, or, I can thank you any way you want, basically. I should get more sophisticated about that. I'm not going to send a lot of reward items for people who donate things because I don't want to get so much into shipping things around. I have a package right now, a friend sent donations, right? Including one thing she had extra that I can use for, making my legs stronger. and then 2 things I wanted as tools here. And that package got stuck in Memphis, like within the next day of it being sent from somewhere in Oregon, I think it is, or Colorado, or I don't know where. And then it just stayed in Memphis from February 7th. It's now March 25th or so, and it's just been sitting there in Memphis. And that's how hard it is for me to get stuff. I mean, an individual sends me something, and it's in the mail, and it doesn't even get out of Memphis. And a different friend had a package here that was stuck in customs here for over a month. And then eventually the person who sent it said, send it back, and they sent it back. I think that was because there was probably, because you got to wonder why, right? I think there was fennel seeds in it, and they're actually for cooking in this case. But it could be that that they didn't like that in customs. I don't know. Also there's the pandemic and all that. So people may be a little distracted. Oh, what a pretty bird. That is a carpintero, a woodpecker. I rarely see them fly like that. It just flew right over this roof and right in front of me. And then, so I got to see on top of its wings, and it has like white dots on its wings that you can only see from above it when it's flying. But it kind of dove by sideways a little bit. It veered off, God damn. Okay, I got another idea for what we're going to talk about, and that is about dusk and the ideal times of the day in the Bosque. Let us continue. Seems like I've been doing a lot of videos walking around. I probably have to figure out the ideal angle at which to hold the camera in my head. If I hold it down and lean forward, that's good, but if I'm outside, I get light behind me. In this case, I don't want you to see the mess I just passed, and so I held it at an angle where you couldn't see it. I think we can get more elegant about that, like filming how we want to for the benefits we like. I ultimately used to be shy about filming myself. I'm apparently not that shy anymore. Because, various reasons. Well, right now we're going to go outside and we're going to consider a thing I was thinking about. We want to be comfortable, right? And so we adjust our lives to the climate in order to be maximally comfortable. So there's 2 times a day that matter that we should add to the graph, right? We've got the graph of like when it's comfortable and when it isn't, and what the temperature is, during the day, the highs and the lows. In that, we can look at the hours of the day for different times of the year, and we can say when we should. Basically, there's two things. Like the reason I brought it up is because it suddenly isn't too hot out, right? It's now a little after 3. Actually, I should check what time it is. It's March 25th, 2021. The time is important because we're going to want to draw this graph out. And it's probably almost always the same amount off of civil twilight. It's not like we need to record this for a year or something. 1637. That's 4:37. We'll call it 5 o'clock. So I would say that on this date, March whatever, 25th, it's a little bit after the equinox, I believe. I think we just had one. And so it's a pretty good example. So the question is then, when is sunset? Because it's the amount of time before sunset that matters. I would say right now we're 2 hours from sunset, or 2 hours from it going a little bit below the trees. It still filters in through the trees. But the reverse of that, the morning version of that, is at what time would you peel off your morning layer? And I want to write these times down because I want to help people with their planning a lot. I want to help them immensely. And so if we kind of make a template for the day of ideal behaviors, then people who are very much in performance mode, which may be that they're on camera performing, they're here to have a very intense experience. And I think that scheduling a bunch of things actually really helps with that. I can help you understand when you should have your extra layer on or off. Now, right now, it's still earlier than I would go get my extra layer, but I'd want to know where it was, And so maybe it's an hour. I don't know. But the thing is, darkness comes on quickly, so you want to make sure you get your headlamp before you need it. One of the more annoying things about dusk is when people did not go get their headlamp when it was light out because they were busy doing something else, and they didn't plan ahead quite right. And then it's dark, and then people have to walk them to their cabana and walk back with them to go get this thing that basically the person didn't think ahead. And it wastes people's time. And because those people can't get to the cabana by themselves. They don't have a light. They're literally unenlightened. And so somebody has to help them. That tells me a lot about the person who does that. You know, I mean, we all make mistakes, no problem. I've made a couple ones that were actually scary. You know, I'm out here in the dark in the woods alone. And but it's an imposition on other people. So this latter part of the day, I'm noticing that it's really comfortable temperature for video, but it's not for wind. And I made a whole different video about this. The wind is a problem. And so if the wind is going to pick up during much of the seasons, right, in the evening at this time, it has this nice temperature and light. You know, it wants to, just after the sun goes down, there's a really awesome period, and we'll try and pay attention to this actually in this video. I'm going to watch this evening, right? Come on. So we've got 2 hours, I said. Now I'm standing in a place where it will be shady here in less time, an hour, because there's some trees there. So that's another odd thing that I will add to this about using dusk and using dawn, is that mapping out, because the forest is taking shape, right? Mapping out where the best spots for early light are, the earliest light in each region, right? Every area. So, how do I say that better? Every part of the property, wherever the light hits there first, that is a first light location, and we need to identify a bunch of them and GPS them, mark them with stakes, and remember them, and then say to ourselves, okay, and it changes during the year a little bit because the sun rises a different spot, it goes down a different spot. It's not that big a difference, but in some places it does matter. So the point is that this one we need to check over time, over the year, you know, but we can project it. I mean, you know which way the sun's going, and you can just, you know, kind of say, oh, the sun will be over that way from there because the sun will go that way, you know. It's not super tricky. And so anyway, we set aside all those best first light sunrise spots, even if it's much later than the ideal spot. Because I know there's an ideal spot right here to get the sun, right? Most of these places don't have it, and they're not going to get it. And so even if that sun hits it first at 11 o'clock, I want to know, when does it do it? And this is true for the Barranca especially, because the sun getting into there at all isn't super common. And that may cause us to think about how we can selectively cut a few trees to change the Barranca's light amount without changing its humidity level, because it's more humid there and better for plant propagation and some things. So, well, back to the people part. So we mark these sunspots, and we also conversely mark the places where the last light of the day is, because the last light of the day is really valuable for us. That's our best light. And the truth is, once it goes down over the trees, everything becomes the same. So as we make a list of sets, you know, places you could film, we want to have a spreadsheet which lists what's the earliest light there, and then you could sort by those even and figure out where's the earliest light or where's the latest light spot in that area, kind of thing. And then where's the best place for sunset in terms of getting the maximum of it, basically. So the longest light you can have, and that's nice side lighting. It often ends up softer. It's just not as harsh. Also, it doesn't feel as harsh. So we shouldn't just think about filming, obviously, but, you know, making comfortable places to be. And so this is a case where we're going to change our entire layout of how the humans use the land based on what we know long term will be most valuable for us. Now, late light could mean we put a garden there. Early light could mean we put a garden there. I've had some success with gardens that don't get the last hottest part of the sun, but they do get morning sun. Those are nice little gardens. And so we may not want to just think about this for human use directly, although gardens are human use, I suppose. So I'm here early. I'm hot. This is uncomfortable. I'm wearing a black shirt. The sun's right on me. So we could compare this with the shade, but the truth is the shade's always comfortable here. So that's nothing new. What we're trying to find out at the moment is when is the best time at dusk, you know, in March 25th, 2021, and then we'll figure out, like, during different parts of the year, what the best time is and also best locations. depending on what best means, but we shall see. Oh yeah, this is all nice back in here. And even here, actually, this is a bench here, and there's kind of dappled sunlight. Oh. And that's very comfortable, actually. That's very comfortable. So, yeah, I think 5 o'clock. So I need to go check and see what time sunset is. According to the official thing, which might be when it reaches a faraway horizon, here sunset is earlier because I have a whole bunch of trees that make it be later. It blocks the sun earlier because they're tall trees. And there's a hill right there, too. And that's why it's worth it to do a map and figure out for the entire place, like, when is there sun where? I mean, just knowing that. And it's a complex question. I've never seen a sun map that had that. A map of a property that, you know, you could color code it and have like areas. And it could be like, you could have one color that was for summer solstice and one that was for winter solstice. And you can kind of guess what's in between because it's equinox. So you don't have to make that shape. So the shape would actually show up one color for summer solstice, one color for winter solstice of an area on the map where the sun hits. Doesn't have to be that accurate. More accurate would be nice, though. Would help with planning quite a bit. And then on each one of those, at what time, we want to know what time is the earliest light it gets and the latest light it gets. I guess we don't have to put the latest light. We should, though, because it's an interesting spot. And that matters because, for example, if a place got both early and late light during the day, then we could probably want to invest more in that space. Like, let's say it was a sitting area, right? Where people are sitting and enjoying the bright first light of the day or the last light. It could be that it's an exercise area. Who knows? Anything that we, whatever ideal use we can think of. We have potentially years to think of this, of course. I've been here a while and haven't built that much. But I think that's a type of mapping that I've never heard of. And you could even make spaces for, you could make like a sculpture. If you had a place that had both late sun and early sun, you could make a sculpture with a tube in it or something that lets light through a certain way. And then you could try and draw a dot or somehow make a thing that draws out the path of the sun on a rock or something. There's a variety of ideas you come up with that. Basically a sort of a sundial in a way that tells you the date. We can do one that tells a time, but we have this weird daylight savings stuff and all that. I understand that. So that's more difficult. But, we could make a sundial. It's, I don't know, kind of cute. I'd rather make a labyrinth, actually, if I had a choice. So, yeah, tracking the path of the sun. It's all about the sun. And thinking about what the annual cycle is and how that changes things. Rain's an obvious one, but what the sun does, actually, there's a lot more to think about. I'm a little less interested in what the moon does. I know a lot of people get real mystical about the moon. But I have no reason to think that the moon has a major impact on things. I've never seen any test or science done on any actual effect that, like, whether you plant at this time or at that time, it really matters at all. And so my default position is, no, sorry, prove it. Everything else, I just don't see the connection. The light of the moon, whatever, there could be clouds, it varies. So, yeah, it is comfortable out right now, really comfortable. I still wouldn't go get my headlamp though. Well, I would actually if I was doing that task in one place, and then maybe this is kind of when we choose, like, to have activities end. Maybe right about the time where it's before it gets too cold, like clearly before, and half hour minimum, hour would be way better. We shut the activity down. I think what I'm trying to do is develop our behavior based on climate, right? And I've thought of some of these things before. It's not the first time. But, sitting here with you, because you're such a great conversationalist, it makes me question everything I believe. And so I want to play around with the idea in your absence, so that so you can object to things I say, because I'll object too. I'll object, and then I'll see if I can see what I think of that. Very creative about objecting to things. I used to be a tester in software with software, and the same skills work for this kind of thing. Oh my God, that guy's big. There's a turkey vulture up in that tree. This is not the kind of camera you can see that with, because it's very wide angle. But he's huge. The dogs hate these guys. I don't know why. Sometimes I feel like I'm saying my own script, and I am. I guess you get used to being you. Is that it? That's all I got on... Oh, designing the whole agenda around the climate. Yes, I think it's brilliant, because you get an inherent immediate energy win. You make things better, objectively better by my standards, by getting people into a tune with the natural cycle of light. And I think it's a healthier way to live. I think it's how we evolved to live. There's some odd details about sleep and things like that. We can always learn about those things, and many scientists are just doing brilliant work to help us understand who we are. But we don't actually have to understand all the science behind something to know what works and doesn't. And so it works to have people in a coherent order working together. I think sometimes when we fantasize utopia, we fantasize something where there's a high degree of individualism and we all do what we want whenever we want it. I think there was a show called Brave New World. It was based on the book by Huxley or somebody. I haven't read that in 20 years. Oh, well, geez, 30. Whoa, I got older. More than 30. But I think that, well, actually, Brave New World has both individualism and non-individualism. The TV show of it, which was great, had the upper classes having a high degree of personal autonomy, and basically spoiled rich people of the industrial world, like many people I know are. A minority worldwide, by the way. A lot of people are still in poverty, and there's a lot of people who aren't in official poverty who certainly don't have a lot of personal autonomy in their choices. And so, when I think about this kind of environment, like I'm reminded of festival culture and things like that, where our pinnacle thing we seek is some kind of a glorious existence where we do whatever we want, and we want to do it. And I don't even think that's a good goal. In fact, that's why, even though I live a chaotic life where I do whatever I want, whenever I want, and that's one of the hardest things for me about setting up a schedule, is I'll probably have to follow the schedule that residents have, the same kind of agreement, right? So that changes things when you're a person who's making rules, but you also have to follow them, as opposed to a lot of people make rules and don't have to follow them. The rules for participants and residents are completely different. A whole different set of rules. With residents, I can make agreements that are longer term, and make agreements that are not at all interesting to even talk about for a regular participant. And I'm not going to say it's shallow versus deep. It's just people who are here longer term versus not. And it changes my investment in them. It changes what kind of things they're doing. It changes the social contract that they have with me and with this place. So to what degree do residents follow a schedule, and which scheduled items do they follow? Well, first of all, some residents may have a completely separate system from the participants. People who are primarily here to experiment, perform, be part of kind of the Bosque adventure thing. It's very likely that some residents will not wish to participate in that. There are no residents except me and the dogs, so that's not too hard to figure out at the moment. But I think this is one of the benefits I have of developing this thing as I am, to get to kind of the human side rather than the trees and stuff like that, which are hugely important. But designing a kind of vision of how people could operate well together in a community. And I don't agree with a lot of things that are just taken as canon. They're taken as given about when people talk about communities. There's certain kinds of people who talk about intentional communities. A lot of people, you say the word and they respond with, oh, cult, or what's this other things people say? Oh, I would, never want to be stuck with people. I don't want to be stuck with people. I got these issues too. Like I agree with people who are critics of the idea of intentional communities, and I like aspects of intentional communities. But there's a lot of attributes of them which people take as they have to be that way, and I just simply don't agree. I'm not going to look at like somebody's particular type of model of modern intentional community and say that's the ideal. I'm going to break it down into as many elements as I can and then compare that with every experiment that I can compare it with. And that should be done with data in a spreadsheet to the degree it can be. A lot of it can't be because we don't have really good data about certain groups. But, sizes of groups, cultural agreements, just, whatever, all of it. And so I guess all I can do in that is express what I want to do with residents and what I'm open to, and maybe various models of it. Because I don't want to just say, this is how you be a resident. I want to say, what do you bring to the table, and what kind of place do you want to be a resident in? And does that match up with how things are now? And does it match up with the vision I have for the future? Because I have had some people just tell me like, well, no, you have to do it this way. This is the right way and all this. And it's like, well, it's not my right way. And I'm not going to do it the way I don't like. And so I consider those people kind of rude, actually, when they do that. Not that many people do that. Most people are whatever. Everyone's their own trip. Everyone's got their own problems, too, as far as I can tell. Especially the people who pretend they don't have any. That is a massive turkey vulture. A buzzard. They eat dead shit. They get a bad rap, I think. Like, sometimes in cartoons or something. I think I saw one in the turkey vultures were the bad guys or something, or some movie. I don't know what I saw. But they're actually extremely helpful birds, and they clean up stuff you don't want to clean up. Dead stuff. Stuff dies all the time. I come across pieces of an armadillo sometimes, or fuzz of something, and maybe who knows what happened, why there's some fur on the ground. But these guys actually go in and they do the excellent job of cleaning up the carcasses of the dead things, so we don't have to deal with them. And they leave some bones for us, bigger bones. We can collect those as kind of mementos of nature here. So I'm still on the same task. And what time is it? I don't know if somebody will edit this or what, so we might lose what time it is. It's now, now it's the real 5 o'clock. Wait a minute. 2, 4, 5. Right. 16:56. Okay, so it's just now getting to the real 5 o'clock, because I rounded quite a bit. I round off things a lot. And it's super comfy now. So, and that's why we picked 5 o'clock, I think. I knew it was a little bit hot. So this is looking really nice. We get nice side lighting. I don't think you can see that, can you? That is unfortunate. There's Boogie. Hi, Boogie. All the lazy doggins. Can you see that guy? This is Cabron. He's laying in the dirt. He's laying upside down. And he's dirty. And he looks very comfortable. He loves to lay like that. He's a goofball. If there was a dog hammock, he would sit in it. Okay, so this tree over here, why can't that be seen very well? So that light over there, that lighting is softer and it's oranger, it's redder. And the sun is not quite as strong, because now instead of coming from a high elevation with no protection, it's coming in sideways over there. The camera does not do it justice. Not that it's a real pretty day, it's boring. When there's no clouds, it's boring. So that's why I was saying earlier that the cloudiest times of the year are in some ways the best time of the year. The clouds start in like June, but then the reason I recommended August was because of what? No, it was August, September. It was September, October. Because they're not totally rainy anymore. They're not too cold. The days are still long. And they have lots of fluffy clouds in the post-rainy part of the year. And everything's green because we just had the forest growing under all the rain for the whole rainy season. I think that's the ideal month. Now, you shouldn't think because I say that the other months aren't good. because they all have their good times. Like, I like this now. It's too dry for me. But also I can fix some problems architecturally by, during the hottest part of the day, which isn't that hot, I have shade, and shade takes care of it, and I do have shade. I have terraces and porches and things all over the place. So, so what are we ending up with? This is what I'm thinking. Don't bark at birds. Jesus, what use is it to bark at a bird? Birds aren't even real. So we're ending up with this. Get out of bed in the morning. Put on your layers. It's light out enough to walk. And get your day going quick. Guzzle some water right away. Go pee. Poo if you need to. Put on your more thick layer. And go join whatever's going on. That thing is going to be possibly an early morning activity and a breakfast. Happens at the same time. Breakfast is real simple. It's going to be juice, fruit juices. Veggie juices would be if there's enough people to support it. But it's another whole process, Cut up fruit, bread, hot water should be available. Isn't right now. But it should be available on tap with a solar hot water heater. And it's already hot from the day before. And so you can pour it in your thermos or cup and you've got hot water immediately. Now, your best option on getting warm quickly is moving. So a lot of morning activities can be movement-based. People like doing yoga because during yoga, if you're doing it, it might be strenuous, right? And so you might as well do it when it's chilly. Who cares? And the sunrise is coming up, and the sun isn't too strong. So it's a perfect time for morning activities and or breakfast. And it can change throughout the week. It can change, and I want about a month-long schedule of different things that occur at breakfast. I want to know which CD gets played, if there was music being played, and it would be Creative Commons or public domain. I want to know if there's an activity happening. I want to know if there's any alterations to the food. I want a seasonal calendar of what fruits we serve, because we serve what's in season. And I've done breakfast like this right here before. It's awesome. It's very fun. My system here can only handle a fairly small number of people. Like, if it was getting over 12, I would start wanting help more. Although cutting up fruit's always good help. Okay, now you're there. And that morning activity, there could be a short one right after that. And it could almost be an all-group activity that you could just kind of check in for the day. I think that's worthwhile. It's basically the agenda of the day. And that could happen after the initial eating of breakfast, and also internet could go on before breakfast so that people who are motivated for internet will come out here and use internet real quick. Maybe give them a half hour or so, but not too long. And then people start, after you do the agenda meeting, maybe a group photo, who knows. Morning's a nice time for a group photo. Sure, we could pick a nice set around here and even have a spot where we can get an angle on people if there's a larger group. But I'm imagining really 2 sessions a day, 2 larger sessions, and that's before food and after food. Before food's at 2 o'clock, right? You have how many hours? Well, it depends on the time of the year. And for some reason, we don't actually move lunch around. Maybe we should, but 2 o'clock seems to work pretty well. It always has. It's very traditional in this culture to eat at 2 o'clock. So we're going to eat at 2 o'clock. So you have these morning hours of, let's say, 9, 10, 11, 12. You could have 2 sessions in the morning. You can divide the morning into 2 sessions. Some people will be doing the same thing all morning. Some people won't. Depends on what track you're on and what your goals are and a variety of things. Because I want to make a template for even groups to come in. I want to say, look, this is our template. Everything is geared around it. We know why it works. And fit your courses into these hours. And then you determine how many days you need and what spaces you need, and we'll figure all that out. After lunch takes at least till 3. And after lunch, sometimes people have already had a pretty big day of intense things, hopefully. So some people are up for more things and some people aren't. I think it's a great time to offer, we could figure out which types of activities are better earlier or later. For example, your earlier activity might be better for physical activity. So it could be like dang near after breakfast, right? You just immediately move into more physical activities. how you blend that in with the two. Like, does everybody go back to their cabana because now they don't want their jacket anymore? Maybe. It's a big area. That's one of the reasons I want to start putting people closer in, because sometimes I've had group camping and it's difficult, and I think people need to be closer to their tents at this stage in the evolution of the space. And then after lunch, yeah, we've got basically, it doesn't really end at 3, it ends at 3:30. I'm going to call it 4. I'm going to call the lunch period is 2 hours long. It's already 4 o'clock then. In the wintertime, it's going to get cold earlier. We're closed in the wintertime anyway, mostly. We've got 8 months when we really want to run programs. And so at that point, we've got, are you keeping up here? I got to put all some of my notes and stuff. That's why I'm doing the video. So if you're already at 4 o'clock, you basically have one event before dinner. Yeah, and whatever that is, it depends on time of year. We can figure it out, and we can schedule it for as long as we want, or we could just pick a short time. And it could be that, evening people, there's a lot other things to do. And the other thing is what kind of event, what kind of event in what time slot and what places. Because we talked last time in a different video about evening events and things like that. And, these are going to end up being pretty long days if they get run well. Like, people are going to be tired at the end of the day, and I want that. I want people to be exhausted, not exhausted, but I want them to have their days very full. I want to maximize their potential in the space. This is not a place to come and relax. I'm not interested. Some people could do it. Like, I'll rent a house to a hermit or something. There's a whole hermit experience idea. But that's really not my core function with the place. I want to develop solutions for a better world, and we'll have a good time doing it. We'll do things nobody else would do because they sound dumb or they just wouldn't take the time to do it or whatever. And I don't know where success will come from. I don't know what problems there'll be, but I have some pretty good ideas and a lot of experience. So I want to kind of make more formal that whole process of getting to that point. So I have to kind of divide in my head the resident side and the participant side, and then make some materials for both that talk about very different aspects of being in a place, because the entire relationship is different. I've talked about that in other videos. I guess I need to do the resident side more formally, and I actually need to make, concise with an outline messages to people. I've done some of those for participants, but I think I could select out of these long videos things that really help them understand how to connect here better and be the best them, and get a lot out of the space without being demanding, and giving into the space and accepting and developing this amazing experience, which is for different people very different. Some people, when they're here, they focus on the social aspect. Other people really like spending a lot of time in nature. They love it. And I understand why, because I love it too. I don't live here for no reason. In fact, that's the only really reward I get out of this project, is I get to live here. As I look at this evening go by, or begin really, I'm doing a tiny little science experiment of, in this space, how would we optimally use the climate at this particular date, and we can then extrapolate and wonder, well, because I've got some really dry months coming up here. This is March, okay, it just got warm. April, May are really hot. April and May are the hottest months. So if somebody wants heat, that's when they should come. And so that's probably when you can sleep the best, with, being the warmest at night. It's still be a little chilly at night, so you still got to prepare. I wonder what I could do during those months to maximize the benefit of heat. I want to run hot springs, like build hot springs, or hot tubs or whatever. I would love an artificial hot springs, but that'd be running mostly in the rainy season unless there was a bunch of storage, so it's very difficult. It's just a hard time with plants. So, I'm so focused on plants. I could pump a lot of solar energy under houses into the ground. I have a lot of sun, and they could be solar pumps. I don't like pumps. They break. But I could have a thing which just all it does is pump hot water under the building. And then Right, you'd have to pump it in so that other water goes back up. And you would want the outtake to be at the bottom of the cistern or whatever that the water's in, right? So you're sucking it out of the bottom. That's the coldest part. It's coming in through the top. And it is only going in through the top because the cold stuff's warming. I don't know how you set up that cycle. But we want it to cycle. I guess you have to use a pump, right? A pump. I don't want to use a pump. Because I could pump the cold water up. I would pump the cold water up into the hot water heater, or I would pump the hot water down. I think usually you think of pumps as pumping up, whatever. So, you have a nice pipe there. It's a clean system. The water's not being added to it or removed from it, right? And it doesn't even have to be water. It could be another liquid actually disperses heat better, and it could be that it goes into coils or something within the cistern of water. I don't like that as much. I think you could just have an intake and an outtake for the entire cistern as it is, and the cold water in that will always be lower. The hot water will come in the top. We push up the cold water into the heater, and all day long, that thing will be cycling. Now, I wish I knew, like on a pipe, can you have a thing that tells you how much water is going through it, like a gauge that records things? And can I have a thermometer? I need thermometer trackers, temperature trackers, to track the heat inside the cistern. So essentially, we're heating an enclosed bunch of water as hot as we can. And it's my belief that we won't be able to boil it if it's inside there. And we also don't care if it's insulated. Why? Normally, we want our hot water to be insulated. It's because we're just pumping it into the envelope of the building. And we would find out over time how big of solar hot water heaters would be appropriate. I think that one that they sell for a family, a fairly decent sized one, could actually do too much. Like, you wouldn't want it to get that hot, because you're just trying to make it so that your building is hotter. You can always decrease heat with more airflow, which is awesome, very healthy. You're not doing forced air or anything like that. I don't know that we have to worry about making it too hot with that method. I think you're more likely with passive solar to mess it up. And you can always swap out your solar hot water heater. In the bizarre case in which it was making it too hot, you just switch to a smaller solar hot water heater or abandon the system, whatever. It's a closed system, which I like. That's not true. You have to have a vent tube on the top. And you'd want to make sure you always had water in it. So you do have to have a way to deliver water into the system, and that's going to be from above the height of the tank of the hot water heater. You're going to be able to fill with colder water from there, have that heated up and add to the system, because you have to have a vent pipe out the top, and the total amount of water in your system may reduce. How do we tell if we're running out of water in the system? I don't know. You can't see the water. One way to do it would be to open a spigot. There's a spigot on the side of the thermos part, and if you open a spigot and no water comes out, there's no water in it. The way it is now, what happens? It never can run out inside the tubes because of where the exits are. One of the exits goes out of the top of the thermos, so that's really critical, because you never want to have one of these things be empty. Because then when it's empty and it gets hot, if you were to suddenly pour in cold water, you could actually break the glass inside and ruin it. So there is some maintenance on these. These are not items you can have laying around. We have to actually protect the location it is without blocking the sun, which is a trick, right? That's not the easiest thing in the world. Now, I always imagine solar hot water heaters outside the envelope of the building, outside the building, and being lower than it and having sun, which is even more difficult to do. You could do that on a south-facing slope, of which I don't have a ton. I've got some in what's called the point down by the south gate, and that is an almost south-facing slope that's by a road, and could have out in front of it solar hot water heaters on a special porch or something, and those would work during the hottest time of the day and move lots of energy in, and it would be an uncovered porch, obviously, for solar exposure, but you could keep people from breaking the tubes. Basically, you don't want kids playing around it. You don't want a baseball hitting it, because we got a lot of baseball going on around here. And so I do have an idea for a building over there where I specifically will be building up 4 stories, and I want there to be an entire first floor or something be covered with a bunch of solar hot water heaters, or maybe second floor. But the key here is that if I want to use the energy inside the building, I have to somehow have solar objects that are lower than the space I want the water to go into. That could be a kitchen or just heating the building. And that's tricky because we don't want them on the ground that much, right? If we had terraced buildings, then we could put the hot water heater on one building on the roof, and then that hot water goes up into the other person's building, and then also rainwater comes down from the person's building that's above. These are terraced stepped buildings, kind of like they have in Mykonos in Greece, but a little more organized because those probably evolved, and we can actually design the similar systems of dense living, but sharing all these energy systems, because you want to be above things or below things. There's, gravity, and you want to skip pumps, and there's all these things you can do. The system I was imagining a second ago was pumping it down into a cistern. And what I had in my head there was I was thinking more about buildings that they're like around here, and they're kind of on their own, and the only thermal mass they have is deep within the building. So we can do that. But even the pump part bugs me so much that I really feel like I want to abandon those kind of systems entirely. It's hard to build pumps. It's hard to power them. They fail. They just mechanically can't handle it. They cannot handle generations and generations of use, and therefore that means the design was wrong. The architecture was wrong. We didn't have the buildings relating to each other in the right way as far as energy goes. We didn't think about the sun enough. If we adjust to the climate, everything, our schedule, the architecture, if we adjust ourselves to the natural world, we will save our lives and build an awesome world, have a good time, live healthier, and just list every good thing you want, but we're out of tune. Everybody knows it. Anybody who thinks that this is okay isn't looking at the data I'm looking at, or reading the things people say online. It's a sad world, really, in a lot of ways, and many things are getting better. Many optimists, I don't like to get this optimist versus pessimist thing, because many people are optimistic, just want to be, and they're fine. That's neat. I don't agree with their viewpoint. And then there's people who are pessimistic for no reason, and they can be very wrong too. I am pessimistic about the future of the planet right now, and I'm doing everything I can to fix it, and I'm trying to impart to you my ideas so that you will take them, twist them into your own delusional state, and then do things that might be better than worse. Do things that are better than worse. I've been recording a lot today. I'm going to be tired. I'm publishing these longer videos because I don't have time to edit things. And the problem is I speak on the same topic in a bunch of pieces of something, and those all need to be edited out together and then made into a little coherent form as best they can be. And it's just a collection of thoughts about the same topic at the same place, as opposed to a really long video of me rambling on with intermittent, occasionally smart or funny things. But whatever, These videos are also a way, well, I don't know who will see them, actually. They might just be hidden, and then only people are going to edit the video get access. But I might just post them long. I think I might. People can handle it. It's like hanging out with me for the day. So, video is sort of like taking notes, because a lot of my ideas are somewhat spontaneous, and writing's actually slower than talking. We were evolved to talk, not to write. I'm a big fan of the written word. I'm a big fan of people reading and learning from that. Turkey vulture's still sitting up there. But it is not natural, and it's natural to talk to people. I get a little frustrated when I have really interesting conversations with someone and it's not recorded, because I have so many goals that are bigger than me that I feel like I'm spending my energy in this small way when I want to share that energy and those ideas and thoughts with a lot of other people. Many of them not being interesting potentially. I don't know. People's interests vary. But that's a way for me to start out my notes. Maybe someone else will edit it, and actually at least YouTube will transcribe it for me. And then if I wanted to transcribe it, I could use their shitty transcription that was done by a machine, and I can improve the transcription to be readable. And now I've got the elements of an article. I've got searchable text. on ideas, and so that's good for SEO, you know, for search engines and things like that. So who knows? I hope that these videos have some use. I can't upload them fast enough is a problem. I've been uploading this video for 2 days. It's going on right now, and that was a 2.5 hour video. That's it. So if I speak for 2.5 hours, it takes me 2 days to upload it. That's unacceptable, and that tells me that my internet is too slow. I need to get something like Starlink from whoever does that guy, Elon Musk, whatever, because that's like 10 times faster, and that would work. Because I also think about having more people here. If I don't have enough internet for me and the weird things I want to do, what happens when there's a bunch of other weird people here doing weird things and they need bandwidth? You know, I need to support that. I might want more than one Starlink thing. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to shut off for the moment. I'm going to wonder what the heck I'm doing. I know what my bigger goal is. It's still to find it when it's comfy. Let's go check over here real quick. From this spot, it's about an hour till it hits the trees. I'm doing that by holding my hand up to the light. I hold my hand up, you know, like hands, like fingers. And I just put my finger at the bottom of the sun, my top finger, right? This top part up here. And then each one of these is 15 minutes. And so as it gets closer to the horizon, in this case it's just trees, it's not way down like an ocean or something. And so in this case, a while ago I measured 2 hands, and I think I've been talking so long it's about 1 now. That's why these files are too big to upload. Yar. Okay, I had a tiring couple days. I'll see you later. One thing to remember is to not leave your hat out, your straw hat. The dogs may steal it and eat it. I am not responsible for your putting your hat in a dumb spot. Sorry. I think I just recorded a bunch of stuff and didn't capture it. I'm going to say it again. So, if we want larger buildings, and I do, and I'll explain briefly why, but if you've watched my past videos, you know why. I want people to be denser because it's less footprint on the land, literally. You know, you could have 200 people in a building or 100 people in a building or something, quite a few people in a building, you know, and not have it be that large of a building. It's like a piece of a sideways skyscraper a little bit, dug into the slope. And the people are really close to each other, so they get the benefits of being in the city as far as getting access to a lot of stuff. Or we could sprawl them all out over the land, and we could have lots of, 200 different buildings, right, using up their own footprint vertically onto the dirt, onto the land, and we squish a lot of area, and we squish way less of it centralized. Plus, it's a real dichotomy. I know a lot of the people who want to move out to the country or something, or people like me, want to be as far away from people as possible in general. But to solve the problems in the world, we have to make solutions that work for a lot of people. We can't have this many people just sprawl all over the place. We can't do that anywhere. It's not. Then we can't grow our food nearby. Then we have to have systems that connect us together in different ways. Having us in denser buildings is actually better. And in cities, people flock to cities, right? And that's for more opportunity, more things, more action, and stuff like that. And so I think it's valuable to mimic the density of the city. Don't get too apeshit with that. But to use land more effectively, essentially by having 3 to 4 floors, we have cut down by, 2/3 or 3/4 of the land we would have used before. We're using far less land on people. I think that's about right. Yeah, that would make sense. But there's other advantages to density, and that is that the systems can serve people better. We need less of them. We can have more public systems more easily. We can share systems. Food systems can easily deliver food to people without it being, biked over, motorcycled over, vehicled over anywhere. And so density has massive economic advantages. It also does have social advantages. Now, when we think about dense living, of course, the first thing I think about and you think about is, oh my God, I don't want those people in my face. They're going to tell me what to do, and I, got to do my own thing. And I don't think it has to be that way. Now, I have weird visions of community in the Bosque, but skip that for the moment. Let's just speak architecturally of publicly owned buildings where each person owns their condo in the same way that they do in a condo association. The condo association owns, I don't know how you work the associations. The legal stuff's all figured out, okay? I'm just doing pieces mixed together differently. You know, in this case, it's just a condo building that's inside of a park. And parts of that are gardens and parts of it are wild, and it's a mix of use, you know, and that's the experiment. It doesn't matter exactly where we end up on the balance of each thing, okay? We have to generally have a positive impact, and how it shakes out will actually be kind of hard to predict, because it's hard to predict what parts of the project will go well when. So let's get back to this here. Civil twilight, no, civil, yeah, half an hour basically after sunset. 20 minutes on this thing, and then it's the same for the morning, I believe, probably. I didn't see that on the spreadsheet. All I have to do is take that exact spreadsheet, try and copy it into the web page, copy it into a spreadsheet, and then have times placed in reference to the existing time. And that will tell me all throughout the year, then, when we should get up and do whatever, what we should do. When is the best spaces to do things? When can we capture energy? What can we do during parts of the year that we can't do during other parts of the year? When should we break the rules, you know, like on the solstice or something? Solstice seems like a great day to have a party. Maybe the solstices should be the biggest parties. The summer one might have rain, may not. The winter one won't have rain, but the nights will be long. So the way to celebrate the winter solstice and the summer solstice depends on what the nature of them is, and they're pretty darn different. So how's it looking out here? And what time is it? I wasn't gone that long. Went up and was annoyed with something I saw on my computer, and then came back down. I really got to watch out for that backlighting. You'll notice right there in that shot I was backlit. That's bad. This is good. I'm actually using the building as a backdrop because everything else is kind of bright out back there. Like, watch me get darker. I got a little bit darker. If I go out here, and there's even more sky in it, see, that's pretty bad. I'm too dark, and I don't want to edit that. So I'd rather edit using my camera and controlling my angle. That's sometimes why I go like this, but right now there's a lot of light, so that's even tough. So I've got half an hour till the sun goes down, and it's really comfy out. I think that during a shaded, in a shaded place during this time of the day, it'd be really great. So really, we've got now. Don't do it. Dog's gonna trip me with that chain someday. So I've got to solve that problem. It's going on. What is it? 5:40? I think so. 5:40. So coming on towards 6 o'clock. Sunset is officially at. And this is actually an interesting thing because this is between like official sunset and what it really is here. This says it will be sunset at 18:59. That's 6:59, which is the same as 7 o'clock. Okay. But right now, it's 6 o'clock. So what I'm getting is the sun's going to go down a half hour to an hour too early here, or something. Don't check my math on that. I'll use a spreadsheet. But back to the concept of it, like right here, I could actually, if I wanted later sunsets as well, I could cut down trees right there. And I actually have a plan to cut down some of them. I'm not sure on one grove. And then some trees behind that up on a hill. I already have a plan to cut those anyway. Now, cutting them for the equinox would be ideal because that would make light come around this area. So I could cut a smaller sliver out of them, and then some of that light wouldn't get through. The question is, how wide is it and what's the angle difference? It's actually a pretty big wide angle difference, and that kind of makes it so it's hard to kind of slip some sunlight through the forest to just one spot that'll be all year. Now, cutting them for the equinox isn't a bad idea because it's 2 times of the year. I don't know. I've cut enough trees for now. I go in cycles of occasionally I decide to implement a big plan. The plan is actually that whole hill is going to change anyway. But I'm not too worried about the sun necessarily being here, you know, an extra half an hour or something in this spot. I don't care about it. So I don't know if it's worth thinking that deeply about. I'm not sure. So it's still a little windy. We want, I just got to work on those sets, I guess. Shit. This is supposed to have a bucket on it. Where'd the... No, the other one had a bucket. This should have a bucket on it too. Oh, right, I told somebody that and then nothing happened. But can't do it all at once. There is a V in the trees right where it's going down. And it was just the equinox, I believe, so that's not too bad. Other times of the year it would go down sooner, in reference to the official sunset. This is actually one of the best places for light on the land, the view, because you do actually get light somewhat late, not really, but you get sunrise. And I'm a big believer more in sunrise and sunset. Like if I had to pick between the two, I care about sunrise and designing for sunrise. And that's because the sun comes up, the source of heat and life comes up right when you're at your coldest, right when you need it. And so, late day sun is not as useful in a way. It's not as far as like designing your building so that the sun comes directly into it, for example. A breakfast location, place overlooking the lake here where the sun comes up, and just using that sunlight to fill as much space as you can, to make comfortable spaces for people to be, to suck that light into your building early on has more value than the late day sun. Now, for something like evacuated solar hot water tubes or whatever, you would want actually to get it south exposure because you want it for more time during the day and you want it higher sun and more intense and strong. And as we've talked about, the early morning sun isn't quite as strong anyway, so you're not going to get as much heating value out of it. You'll still get some. And also it'll wake your system up. So biologically, it's really good for you, I think. Like get out there in the first light. Suck up the first rays of sun as much as you can. There's some times when there isn't a sun in the morning because it's cloudy. But you should still get out in whatever light there is. Your body still absorbs that stuff and it wakes you up and gets you going. That's why we have an activity here up at the View in the mornings, because quite often there'll be a physical activity of some kind. I don't barely care what it is. Capoeira, yoga, jump around, dance around. We could have dance parties up here. I want to put some more sawdust in here though, I think. And then the rains will damp that down. There's a nice area overlooking the lake. Perfect spot for morning physical activities. Jesus, what are these birds doing? That's that same bird. There's water over there, dude. Here, I'll go away. Bye. What a cool bird. I've not seen that bird around here lately, or I don't recall it ever. God damn it, I'm wearing my reading glasses again. That's the second time I've done that today, at least. I walk away from the computer, I'm wearing the reading glasses, and everything's blurry, but I'm used to it. And so, oh man, these stairs are tough. I'm happy I'm doing them. I'm trying to, oh my God, use the other leg, the slightly weaker one, and not just go always up with the same leg. I should be alternating, but it's really hard. No, that's no problem. I can get in the groove of it. Okay, upstairs. It's actually good I moved upstairs because I'm getting tons of physical therapy now. I gotta do everything myself and everything somewhere else, so I am moving my ass off with stuff. Wow, that's tiring. I said something wrong before. I'll correct it right after this. I've got to get all that data in a spreadsheet. I've done spreadsheets before. And the thing is, as we do a social design of the day, the rules apply differently at different times of the year, pretty radically. Like this time of the year, I mean, I walked around out there just a little bit. It was still kind of hot out, you know? So even though it's cooling down now, and I'm looking at how it cools down and when we lose light, this time of day, to be honest, I've had a long day, kind of, and I would like to be sitting around somewhere more. And so I think that activities during this time of the day should be probably more sedentary, although we can experiment with that and just offer people things at different times and really even test, like, do people want to play volleyball at this time of the day during this time of the year? I think we should get down to that granular detail. And if something fun happens at a particular time, then we can focus on that. Now, I have made these kind of spreadsheets before, and what I did was I made one that tracked the moon, actually. And so I know I diss the moon as not being relevant, but there are such a thing as full moon parties. And the moon does affect our mood, especially living here in the forest with very little light. And so there's some nights where the moon is full and it comes up at the right time, and it actually is extremely illuminating. And you can kind of walk around outside, and even if you had a little fire, everything around it would be automatically lit up. So it's a great time to do evening activities when you have these evening moons and how full it is, right? So what you do is, it's pretty easy to do. You just go into like Excel or some spreadsheet thing, and you just mark down when the full moons and new moons are, and then so you can figure out what the equinoxes, right? No, that's different. Sorry. And then what time it comes up. So you want it to be a full moon that is coming up, so that it is high noon, around the middle of the time that is dark, that you would still be awake. Track that. And it varies, right? But for example, if a new moon comes up, it's useless to you in terms of light. It's just not interesting. So we're not going to do much for the new moon. You could have a ritual or something if you want. Feel free. I don't care. But as far as the benefits to people of having the moon exist at night for them, here it makes it easier to relate to people in a dark space, in a dark night. Now, of course, I want more interior spaces built as well, but part of the goal here is to spend as much time of our lives outside. To live outside is better than to live inside. But then we need to make it more comfortable for us to do so. So there is a slight benefit to nighttime activities if they have a full moon that comes up some hours. It starts coming up before sunset. Because we only have a certain number of hours for it to get from moonrise to moon noon. And moon noon, we want to be in the middle of the time that after it got dark and before bedtime. Now that's the ideal moon noon time, okay? If it's off by a couple of hours, it doesn't matter at all. So we have as a range then of about 4 hours when we would say, okay, if it rises at this time, it's good. And we would mark in the spreadsheet, you'd put a different color in for those or something. And maybe I put priority columns on like what's better times or worse times and score things and all that, but you don't have to get that complex. All you have to identify is when are those moons going to come up that you can really use. Now, in this location, that would work great this time of year, and it does. I've made these before, and it does predict when you should have an evening activity. I don't much like the idea of full moon parties, like that go all night long. I think those should be quite rare. I do like the idea of the solstice party, and maybe we give up the rules and we party all night, summer solstice. Why not? And then you look at what's the closest moon to summer solstice that is a good moon. And do we move the party closer to the better moon? I don't know. Do people come for 3 days because they're only 3 days apart? Who knows? The winter one, winter here is a little quieter. The nights are longer. Until I get better architecture here, better buildings, then it's not the best time to host very many people. I can really only host people I know. And so if people want to come here, winter's actually not the best time to come. You could contact us. You never know. But, people have to be more prepared for cold. And I have people around like Christmas time and Saturnalia and Kwanzaa and what's Festivus. It's Bosque. So we do a winter celebration from about winter solstice to January 7th. And that's a private event. And that's not within the 8 months that we're closed. So it's an exception to us being closed during the winter. The most closed we are is January, late after the 7th, and then February. And it's just going to be residents here, I think. I'm not going to run programs. If somebody wanted to and the place develops enough, sure, but it's not the ideal time of year. Right now, my ideal time of year is, it remains September and October for hosting people. But let's get back to the moon and the spreadsheet. So I hope you understood the idea. If not, I'll share an example. I'll make it public. It's fine. I just calculate them for the whole year, and then I use that with a calendar, and I start to mark when I think would be good dates for events. They're affected by things like 3-day weekends here, but a lot of the people I want to cater to aren't in a particular schedule, or some of them are teachers or students, or they have cyclical work or like seasonal work. What's that called? Seasonal work, yeah. And so there's times when they could enjoy things. So it's tricky to do the planning. I don't like the idea of shorter-term events. So even though I mentioned 3-day weekends, I want to make that be a time when somebody takes their vacation and adds it to their 3-day weekend or something and gets a longer experience here. Because I just am not into short-term people. I'm not at all. And that's one of the reasons I don't want to do full moon parties or, very partying kind of things. I want to get in this groove of a nice, stable pattern. Even though I want holidays, and some of those holidays will be based on the sun, I think we should party all the time in some sense. But the focus has got to remain on the work. And I've had people here who understood that and ones who didn't. And I'm doing better to make a social contract with people come here so that the place is what I envision it to be and serves in the way that the supporters of it want. So far, the primary supporter is me, but there's a few others. And there's also a lot of people who are emotional, intellectual support for the project. And so they matter actually to me quite a bit too. It's getting nice out there. Okay, I'm going to go out there again. Oh, what did I forget last time? Why did I come up here? I can remember. Oh. Oh yeah, wear the right glasses. Oh yeah, I had a reading glasses on. That's really dumb. Not sure I'm always the brightest. Oh, yeah, I'm going to go enjoy the outside. So one of the reasons I'm talking about this is, of course, selfish. I want to figure out when the most comfortable times here and be the most comfortable. And I've been uncomfortable for the last, coming up on 2 years pretty soon. I got some months left. So over a year and a half of being injured and not being able to do anything. I'm the most independent I've ever been right now in this video. I'm thrilled. I'm not afraid of falling down the fucking stairs, which I would have been before. Well, actually, I'm still afraid of it. That's why I'm being careful. But it's not crippling fear. I'm the punniest guy in the world. Actually, there were some lame jokes I did make about my complete predicament. What am I doing? Jesus. All right. So part of that is figuring out when is already comfortable to live outside, and then making spaces for that. One of the problems is I'm on a computer all the time, and so what I think we should do, this is a great thing to focus on, is make semi-outdoor offices. Now, the reason I usually stop thinking about that as soon as I say it is because that's hard, and I don't feel like it. It sounds like a tricky construction problem to design, but I think I got to do it anyway. And I think this is what I'm coming up with, is essentially what we want is for people to have people like me who are going to be on their computer quite a bit. Some of them work on their computer. Sun is just grazing the tops of the trees now. And officially kind of going down. What time do we end up with? Was my predictions correct? Was my? Jesus. Have some grammar. 6 o'clock. Okay. And what was the official time it's going down? 7 o'clock. Okay. Yeah, and that was, I think, what I came up with as a conclusion, that I'm about an hour off. So sunset's about an hour early. And so everything else to do with sunset gets adjusted 1 hour earlier for right here. Sunrise we can deal with pretty much as it is, because there's already a lot of sunrise in a few spots, and I have a lot of spots I can open up sunrise spots in quite easily. I'm sloped towards the east, so I'm sloped to the sun. The whole land is bowing down to the sun. Well, this is a great branch here. So we walked around and talked about tree sculpting quite a bit today. This is really nice right now. Okay, so those are nice warm lighting over there, those trees. These ones are getting dark real quick. It's very fast. So just after sunrise, you have sunset. You have a certain time where, well, is the lighting good? I think I should have extra lighting. Oh man, that's harsh, because it was really harsh lighting before, and you couldn't have fixed it very easily. It'd be a pain in the ass. And then later in the evening, we want LED lights to enhance, like my face right now. I think. I can't tell if it's too dark or not. It looks bad to me though. Yeah, that's because there's no background sky. I can't just walk around like this. I'll fall over. So yeah, that's not as hopeful as I wanted. I think having sets that get lit right about this time, and then if it's not windy, we have an instant where there's a fair amount of ambient light, but we can use a lot of fill light, and I think we could almost like really see each set and evaluate what times of the day it's best for. But in some of them, and I hadn't thought of this much before, I think, especially once we have a little bit more electricity, right, a little more solar power. You can't do it right now at all, but we could have photo banks of, photo lights, photo LED lights, even in outdoor spaces, and they might be portable ones. That'd be fine. Rechargeable portable would be best, because then we can go to any location. Actually, that's better than picking sets that have them built in. That could be done too, but maybe it's better if we just do them portable, especially with so few people. We could always build sets that were easier for people to do photography. I think that's brilliant, and they could actually have LEDs built in. I saw it one in the park. It was in Mexico, down in Yucatan somewhere. It's some touristy type area. And they had lots of things where you walk up to it and it takes a picture of you automatically. And when you leave, you get those pictures somehow. I don't know what you do. Maybe they make a private album. Maybe they give you a disc. Maybe you bring your own memory card. No idea how they work it. But I would love that kind of thing here. Art that the people can interact with, and a photo comes out of it, or a performance, or, I can imagine, I've seen at various parties, a box thing you sit in, kind of like a photo booth, but that you have some control over doing something, and it has some control over doing something, and you make something together. Mostly I've seen photo booths, actually. But I thought I saw some at Burning Man where there was recordings and you push a button, or there was one where you pick up a phone and you talk to God. That's a pretty fun one. That's just a phone booth. Now you need a really high population to have that be in use. But I would also like it to automatically be recorded and broadcast. I think when I'm focused on broadcasting things, and so I'm less interested in people having a personal experience as one that is personal and broadcast. So like, let's say that you had a video booth that asks questions to someone, the person answers them, and then those are automatically published. You'd have to be careful what you say in such a booth. But look at this nice amaryllis over here. Anyway, interactive video art. Yeah, this is really interesting. The wind has stopped. It's totally quiet. Oh, the birds are going to start singing pretty soon. If there were bird baths, they'd be going crazy right now. Anyway, this is an amaryllis flower right here. See that? And it's just popping out of the ground because there's a bulb under there. These are really easy to grow here. All we got to do is grow more of them in the ground in places where they like to grow the most, and then move them to places where they may not want to be, but they'll survive. Or sell them. Who knows? It could be a big vivero, a big nursery with very little work. So, this is really nice out. Okay, so what time is it now? Yar. It's only been 8 minutes since I last checked, I think. So, the point is, after the sun goes down, actually the wind just died. This is still nice out here, isn't it? I feel like it's too dark an image. Do you agree I should be lit up more? Don't have any tequila, so can't do that. Oh, that's a cool spot up there. I have a light bulb on the side of the building that has a switch inside, but it's never used for anything. I'm not sure what it would ever get used for exactly. So let's talk about campfires and the timing of those. So I've done this in other videos, and I think I'm pretty set, but we've been talking about all this time and stuff. When do you go to sleep? You go to sleep the amount of sleep hours you need before you need to get up, preferably around 8. If you get up before that, great. If you accidentally stay awake too late, great. But don't stay up all night. It doesn't fit in with the culture of the space. It's bad for the space. That does not apply to residents. That does apply to participants. Again, there's no one rule set exactly. So, although some people could be residents here because they're such good participants, and that is actually why they're here. I don't know. But then that's one thing I'd like to do is, if I have participants who are amazing, then I've become a lot more open to different roles for people. you know, because they got to develop their own self longer term. And then shorter term people, I want them to follow a program that's educational, and that's because I'm not interested in pretending that I'm living with those people and that they're, you know, part of my home or family. I don't know them, and I don't like presumptuous people who try and take that role. That's why we have programs. That's why we have things we offer at certain times and not other times. Here's Cabron, the strange dog. He's coming up here. These dogs do all kinds of stuff. I need GPS collars on them so bad because the maps would be super interesting. So the other question is, when do the dogs wake up? Hey, you guys ready to do your job? Let's wake up. Let's go run around and bark at shit. Oh, they like that. So yeah, they got siesta down. They were zonked out. Like most of the day they sleep. So the kind of schedule I want people to have is not the one they're currently following. But you know what they do? When there's more people here, the dogs adjust, right? The dogs adjust, and they actually walk around with the people more during the day because people do interesting stuff. They really like people. And so then they're actually tired more at night, and so they don't bark and be annoying as much because they bark at night quite a bit, and it is annoying, and it's actually a problem. Once I have more people, it won't be a problem, but it's a problem now. Hi there, Boogie. Can you sit? Oh, you're a good sitter. You're the best sitter in the world. Other thing is, I would like to teach these dog tricks, but that is not about the sunrise and sunset. So back to fire pits. Mainly it's shutting them down. Shutting them down 1 hour before, 8 hours before morning. So we have a suggested time of waking. We have a suggested time of sleeping is 8 hours. I can never sleep 8 hours. But you have a big period of time in which to sleep, so good luck. I hope you get some. But that's when you should sleep. And if you don't sleep then, don't decide to sleep all day. You're not sick. You didn't sleep as much as you should have, and it's your own fault. So go ahead and do a good day, and then you'll sleep the next night. And if you need sleep aids, you know, I mean, if you have sleep problems, that's a different matter, I suppose. But if it's just a momentary lack of sleep, get on board and let's keep going. Don't let that happen. Don't let your own behavior cause it to happen. So anyway, it's very probable that fires would probably start before sunrise, and they would end not that long after. And I don't know. It depends on the time of year, and I'll do the spreadsheet. Do we have a 3-hour fire, 4-hour fire? 3 seems like it wouldn't be worth it if you had it for less than that. But people will also get used to the fact that the fires don't go on all night, because if somebody's visiting for a very, very short time to a place, then they might want to stay up all night and maximize their experience, you know, if they're only there for a couple nights. But in order to create a stable community environment, we need to get people on kind of the same page a lot, and so that messes stuff up, you know. If people can't come to the things during the day, and then they don't know the things that they need to know, or they didn't have the fun they should have had, you know, that's no good. So this is gorgeous out here. I'm just looking around. If this is not too dark, then this is a perfect time to film. Right now we're working on, 10 minutes after sunset or something? And if this is enough light, then that means, yeah, oh, look at that. The moon's coming up over there. Oh, it's almost full moon. I was talking about the moon earlier. There it is. And it's coming up. How long does it take to traverse the sky? Well, it takes 24 hours for stuff to go around a lot. It's facing us and going, we're kind of spiraling through space. I don't know if you've seen those graphics. They're brilliant. They're great. We're not actually just circling each other in some static little thing. We're spiraling through space while we're gravitationally attracted to each other, like the sun and all the planets and all this stuff. It's really complicated. And of course, we got our buddy the moon here. Now, we were talking about the perfect moon earlier, right? The moon evenings. This might not be that bad, because if we're deciding we're not going to stay up all that late, right? And we've got some hours, quite a few hours before we go to sleep. This is at some point when it's useful, which is going to be very soon, like momentarily. Oh my God. This moon is going to get there before I go to sleep. And anywhere in there is great, and anywhere after that's also great. So this is an example of a moon rising at the correct time for maximal enjoyment. Now, it's not quite full. There's a little bit missing on the bottom. Who cares? Details. It'll probably be full in a couple days, or it was full a couple days ago. I don't know. Remember, I woke up the other day at night. No, the other day at night. I woke up at the other night. And I looked out, and then I went and walked around in the moon, and it was so bright. You could walk around with no headlamp or anything. I don't recommend doing that, but I know these trails really well. And these are also the easiest trails there are. So, I mean, it's a road actually. So, is it getting chilly yet? No, not really. But this is the time where I would start to wonder where my jacket and headlamp are, which brings us to another thing, is if we were going to do that kind of thing, if we were going to be still filming at this time, you actually don't want to end up in the actual dark, but you want to film until it's too dark. And so you need your headlamp and equipment. If you were going to film during this time, you need your headlamp and your warm outer layer before you go to start filming. So I'll figure out what the optimal starting time is. I guess it's sunset. Yeah, it's sunset until it gets too dark. And we'll find out how long that is based on maybe the quality of these. I think if I face this way, is it better than if I face this way? Yes, it is, of course, because I'm backlit over there. So is this good enough for video? If it is, then we have this amazing window of opportunity all year long, and we're not just reliant on the clouds, which we got during the rainy season, right? So, I mean, that's a wonderful time to film outdoors, but we don't have it. Now, the other issue is we can build indoor sets. Of course we can. We should build indoor sets. We should make them very excellent. We should have them be set up for easy camera work, for lighting. We should look up advice on how to build different kinds of sets. We should have green screens for full green screen lighting. We should have, separate from that, a sound studio, you know. Basically, anything we need to produce video here, we should have. And we don't have it. And so instead, we're going to get really good and comfortable at producing what's hopefully insightful, interesting content without a lot of fancy editing, without green screens. I have a green screen upstairs now. I haven't tried it very well yet. I got to do that. So anyway, that's a little off topic because that's not outdoor filming, and this is about outdoor filming at dusk in particular. Morning, we could do the same thing, right? But the reason I don't think of that as much is because it's cold out. On the other hand, if we're doing activities, we could film various kinds of physical activities. Like capoeira is kind of visually interesting. When I see it, often there's people standing around watching it because it's just an odd, you know, I don't quite understand it, to be honest. And I'm not that limber at the moment, so I'm not going to go try it. But they did it here a couple times, and I liked it. It was really quite pleasant. It was an odd dance fighty thing or something. Oh, this is nice out here. At least it's nice to my eyes, and it's actually brighter out than I know. That's the other thing, is different cameras have different levels of light sensitivity, and so you could test your camera and see how well it does. I'm starting to think this is pretty good. This round circle is one of the sets I refer to, currently not in use. I can run electric to it really easy. The cables are already there, but they get chewed on by dogs. The idea of it was a circular bench that people sit on, and then we have conversations. No, that was not it, sorry. We had a dome here. We raised the dome and put it on this. It was not a bench. This could be made into a bench, and that is an option. I envision this as a circular thing. There are 3 small trees in here, 3 small pine trees, okay? Look at them. One over there, it's smaller. It's near the side, and then there's this one. Well, my thinking is don't kill it just because you think it's not in the right place. I'm not going to dig hard enough to move these. Maybe this one could be an experiment, this small one, in digging up a pine tree at this age, right? Putting it in a bucket and seeing if it lives. And if it lives, and you know, we have to pick the right soil and everything it likes, baby it, you know, because it's going to go through shock. And then we kind of bonsai it. It's already got some nice curves in here, right? And we could actually sculpt it with wire in this case. That's what they do with bonsai normally. I'm usually thinking my tree sculpting at much bigger scales. And so I'm not going to put wire in the tree. I'll think of other methods. But this guy could actually be done like a regular bonsai tree, but just bigger. And just make a nice form for it. And then that would also teach us if we can give trees away. Why do I want to know if it'll live in a bucket? Well, because I want buckets of trees, mature trees, to go to places that are very highly selected. And try and get, you know, little tiny grows built, like 5 trees. That's it. There are many reforestation projects that reforest with, you know, thousands of trees. And there's one of them every few meters. And they got a plan for how many are going to die and all that. I'd rather put a very few in with less labor overall, less plastic and packaging, and you know, the bucket's reusable. So I'd rather put out slightly larger trees, maybe not as big as this one, but close, about that. If we can try and see if we can get them there. And that kicks it years ahead, because when they put out those tiny seedlings, Those take a long time. Now, it's years ahead for some to become adults, but the idea is those are going to reseed. And so in a reforestation project like that, it isn't our goal to put in the maximum number of trees. It's to have small colonies of trees that we believe will reseed in that environment. And that's tough to know. Even if you planted them there, they might all die. Like you just planted the seeds there at the right time of year and everything. But the tree itself could actually succeed because germination rates vary so much. There's like a hole right there. Really convenient. So I can run electricity to this spot. I can get rid of that tree over there. As these trees get larger, I could cut the lower branches off so you can see across this thing. And I could keep the idea of having a space in which we're together talking and we're on film. And maybe a campfire. It could be that there's small fires around it, like in little stoves or something. And we could have a stove where the entry was onto this and people could pour tea off of it. In other words, make it into a set that is a discussion set, but don't build it for 30 people, I don't think. No. You know, that's too big a conversation. That's too many people in any conversation. So, you know, build it and just evolve it, right? And so we think about each entry. There's an entry on either side, right? So we want a way to get around it, but maybe some nice plants closer in. So right outside of it, we can actually plant quite a bit, but we also need to leave spaces and plan for cameras. I want cameras to be in here, and mainly that's about picking tripod spots. And so as benches evolve, as spaces evolve in here, you know, we'll end up with different backgrounds. God damn that hole again. That's not even safe. Anyway, we can put some stuff just outside of it. We could put in places where people could be close to it, but not inside the circle. People inside the circle could have a role. They could be an expert on something and giving a talk, and the other people are there as part of the audience. And maybe they're interacting and asking questions. Or we could have various kinds of questions games. I discussed that in other videos. It's a nice waspy little cloud up there as well. It's kind of pretty. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, so this is a brainstorming task, really. Luckily, I'm in no big rush. I think the only thing to do is to fix the electric so it doesn't short out in the rain. Investigate the idea of a spotlight location that we can change the bulb above the window in the view, where the face is kind of, and then put that in an arm that's big enough so we can aim it above the gutter there. And it should be okay, but like a floodlight, essentially. We don't have the electricity to support that right now. But I think a floodlight for this whole area would make it so that people could navigate, and it should be warm light. The warmest bulb you can that's a floodlight. I don't want it to be the bright white kind. I find those aesthetically unpleasing, and I realize they're good for security locations and hospital parking lots or something weird, but I don't like it. Just don't like it. Other thing we could do for this area, well, now I'm going to get off topic. Let's stick with this for a second. So this cool stone over here may be useful as a magic table of some kind. We will need basically furniture in here, low furniture, because we don't want to obstruct the camera angle, different kinds of camera angles we could use. We may want to have cameras on poles or steady cams. Well, we should actually do mobile camera on these, some of them. Well, whatever, tripod or person. But we got to pick the angles really carefully and maximize use of different spaces within this. Lighting is critical. We should have lighting, like once we hook electric up, right? We should actually run electric to the other side somehow. It's not that hard. So we'll have electric on the two sides that aren't the doors. And then actually, maybe we put solar lamps, like solar lawn lamps outside the entrance here, just to help people get in and out of it on the back too. There is a cool tree over here, a cool madrone. There are no other trees of note. There's a tiny odd form of cedar over there, but that's not too important. We'll just protect it. Should be the main thing. This makes a nice backdrop for these are the largest trees in the area, and so we could see the firelight flicker in there. Of course, if we're doing tiny fires, we don't get that, do we? Jeez. Well, this whole area needs to get developed anyway. I mean, it's just, there's a stack of tiles over there. I have to decide if I'm going to do anything about these oaks, if I like all of them or some of them or what. Some of them are a little scary, how they are. Some of them are not. So I think that's all in this circle, the design of this circle. It needs a name. And I guess I do like the idea of circle. We could add cob on the outside. We could thicken the wall, and we could actually make it into a bench. In fact, I think I would advise that. I think it's worth the effort to probably make it slightly wider, building onto the outside of it. I like the inside how it is. It looks nice. It looks old. And if we built it up on the outside and then we leveled it off, and it can not all have to be perfectly level, you know, cob is pretty flexible. The reason I don't like it being so thin is because you can't sit on it. Right now it just has tiles and junk in it that were mixed in with the mix. This is not a pleasant cob mix. This is a, you know, very rocky, poke your ass kind of cob mixture. So the reason I say we build on the outside is because I want more interior space. I don't like to build cramped spaces, and this is already very small if we were actually going to do what I just talked about, if we were going to use it as a small photo studio. So we make it thicker, and then we plant on the outside of that. And what do we plant? We plant things that are going to look good on camera and make it neat. So we're playing with light in here. So I want a banana planted out there. I want several. Bananas are the most exotic thing I have. They sure do look shitty after a frost. I want this tree to have a vine on it, a flowering vine. Maybe that jasmine stuff that smells good at night. That might, nighttime place, you know, maybe. This is too windy right now for a fire. Like, that's another problem I have. So, yeah, how to do a good fire pit is really tricky. I have various, but in general, I think good fire pits should be more enclosed than not, because there's just too many times of the year, and you never know when there is a little bit of wind, especially at night. There's breeze. And then you always get smoke in your eyes all the time. If it's blocked around it, then you won't get smoke in your eyes, and that will go up. The smoke will go up more directly, depending on the heat of your fire. Now that's an interesting thing to note. It could be, based on where these trees are, they're kind of taking up part of this side, that we actually decide this tree's gone, that's not going to be here, that the fire kind of goes in here, just far enough away to not damage these trees. And it should be in a fire dish, and I have one. It's copper. It makes a nice platform for a controlled fire. And because it's already raised up a little bit and very controlled, you have less mess. And being raised up, maybe the smoke will go up better. So what am I talking about here? Well, I might want to make that cob thing a little bit bigger and put a backing on the bench. I could make a bench with a backing. Now that does kind of limit the view of the trees around it that don't exist yet. But it would be okay. I still want it. I can't put trees much on this side because of the road, but I could make sure that one of the spaces I definitely make trees big time is on this side. As we go towards that intersection, this side should have a dense tree thing right in here, a little triangle of it maybe. And that does block the sun potentially. Maybe just one here, but somehow get something up here and living well. Who knows? I mean, we have oaks. We're going to get good with sculpting oaks. Maybe we put an oak here, and like a black oak. And then we know that the purpose of that is to be sculpted into something to fill this corner and give visual interest from inside the set. Every side of the set can be considered, because I don't want to pick one side of the set that we only broadcast from. We could make the lodge, the view even, a little prettier from this angle. Oh, it's pretty hard. That's a, white gutter and a big white tank, and that's this paper mache head is really cool. It's been sitting up there for a long time, and it's kind of falling apart. I think it's not going to last another rainy season. It has been there for over a decade, I believe, and I've been very happy about it. So, but it's time to go probably. There's an orange cord coming off this building. That should be figured out why it's like that, and fixed or used or something. Something's messed up with that. That's odd. There's not a lot I can do out here. I can plant more stuff between here and the view, right? Do I want to do that? Well, it's a really nice spot, and I haven't decided what to do with it yet. there's too many factors to talk about with that. A more interesting building nearby to talk about is this one. That's the structure of the doghouse. It is a concrete post framework for a building. Well, I like that it's big and blocky and simple. I'm worried about it structurally. It has wood beams at the top. Those are very well connected. We wrap the rebar around them and stuff. And the problem is I thought I was going to put in a second floor, but everybody I've talked to, people who don't know what they're talking about, but neither do I, say that if I put beams up there and a flooring in, that it would be too heavy on the building. I think it'd be too heavy. I don't know if that's true. You can see the building right here. Are these thick enough? What's going to happen in an earthquake? There is a concrete posts on it, and I don't know if there's a stone base. Normally we would do a stone base on something like this, so I'm quite certain we have it. Yeah, there's a stone base down there. So there is a footer on it that connects it all. So I feel like it should be pretty strong. I think at this point my plan is to leave it pretty open, unless some engineer tells me I can do something with it. But I like the idea of covered spaces, and I like the idea of high roofs. And this could also have a fire in it. It could have a fire just to the side of one of the beams. It could have a fireplace built in. And we could then wonder what its future is. And what I'm thinking is, what's going to go next to it? Because I know that this direction over here, going towards the road, going towards Bad Bend and the road that goes up, I want to build buildings in here. It's a really good spot for it. It's not great for collecting solar energy, which sucks. But other parts of this building could have solar hot water heaters built in. I mean, this tree is kind of big. I don't want to cut it. It's so cool. It's going to fall over someday anyway. So I guess I could it's going to fall that way. So I can still build a building over here. Although still, I just don't trust pine trees at all. They've just fallen stuff, And in a big storm, they start wiggling around, and who knows which way they're going to start cracking. And then boom, there's this big cracking tree falling to the ground. Sometimes storms are pretty intense. They're great. Anyway, on this, what I would do is suggest putting a solar lighting system in. I could hook it in the main system, but I want to experiment with remote systems anyway. And if I can get the brightest, largest solar-powered thing I can, and what it needs to do is have a panel and then a cable that hooks to a light somewhere else. Now, that light's actually going to be really close to the panel in some cases. I want to put a couple of them in so the light balances out. Maybe 3 would be minimum to get it so it doesn't look like lights coming from here and lights coming from here. And I want them kind of up, and I want them to be stronger than normal because I need them to light further down. All has to be warm lighting. This opens up this spot for some better use. It has a fence around it to keep dogs out or in. It's only been really used to keep them in. But I can also move internet to here. So that which is really potentially a great thing, where around it, this is really the thing, is what gets built around it is what matters. We've started digging the ground out here to make this level, and that's a very good idea because we want level spots associated with this building, right? We want sitting spots outside and inside. We want to clean up all this area to see what's going to happen in the future. And I'm kind of imagining that buildings that are enclosed get built next to this. And it depends, what height, I don't know yet. I'm confused. It doesn't do any rain capture right now. These should have gutters put on them, all of them. And they should be metal gutters, like high quality, big square metal gutters. I'm sick of shitty rain capture. The other reason to capture rain really well right here is because we have spots downslope where we can put water. I mean, we have a lot of spaces where we can start to store water in large tinacos, large black water containers down this slope, and then use that for other things below. It's not maybe the most important spot, but it's an exciting spot because it's so different than everywhere else, except it's exactly like the rooster house by the chicken coop, because I did exactly the same thing there. These were built as a framework for unknown development. And I, have different thoughts for the rooster house, but this is a doghouse, and it's available. Again, it's close to electricity and internet. We can have electricity and internet, and that's what makes it the most rare thing. Of course, later the idea is we'll put electricity over there, but it'll still have it then. Doesn't matter. This is always going to be a central hub. I shouldn't say it. It will always be. The reason it's a central hub right now is because there's internet here. And it's the only spot with it. So once we have internet in more places, which, if I don't know how to do that. I bought 2 white boxes from the same company that made this box up there. And then I tried to connect the lodge in there, but the software is too confusing for me. They do not have a cool wizard where you say, oh, I see another thing. Should I say hi to it? Do you trust this thing? Oh, what number is the thing? And stuff like that. Instead, they just, you got to fill out this crap. I don't know the answers to any of the questions that ask me. I'm not a network technician or something. So I do need help on that, actually. I need advice, and then someone to actually do it, probably. I could have spent 3 or 4 hours doing it, and maybe I'd be really happy, because then I would have the whole lodge available with internet. It'd be great. But I haven't done it. So everybody's got their strengths and interests in what they do, and I do not want to do that. So I need somebody else, or I need money so I can pay someone else. There's people I could probably call to help me. But I don't just want to get to the lodge. I want to increase general coverage. And so I need to figure out, what are the best, wireless routers. And also I need better service, so I need Skynet or something, because I just don't have the bandwidth anyway. The other question I have, this is an interesting question, is what can I do with internet locally on site? And I have a lot of smart friends, and some of them I think have worked on this kind of thing. Like, can I set up my own network? Can I have, just like a company would, an internal network of wireless things connected to each other, passwords on different ones of them, resources you can share and servers and stuff. That would be pretty great. And do I need to run fiber optic to get that around, or do I do wireless, or yeah, I guess there's multiple questions there. One of it's coverage of a private network, and the other is how to share resources on a private network. Can I have a private internet radio station? Could people be broadcasting audio to each other at high speed, and we use it like a phone system? Better than a walkie-talkie. Anybody can talk to anybody, all off of the phone system. The phone does work here, and many people are used to using the phone. I just don't like somebody else's system, and you got to pay for it and stuff. And so setting up an internal network would be just awesome. I guess it's fine if people use the phone networks, but yeah, I wonder about that, because it'll also be faster probably, right? Because I don't have outgoing bandwidth, but then I could have fast bandwidth internally, and people could even see each other's data better. For example, if I don't know how you share things on phones very well, but if I have my stuff on a PC and I shared that as a server out, then other people could copy my footage. And that might be the easiest way to share files, because I want us to edit each other's stuff. Oh, this is really nice out. Now I just turned around. See that? This is warm light, cold light, and I'm backlit. That's the real problem. So we'll do this. It's still warmer in the direction of the sun, quite a bit, significantly warmer. And so some sets actually could be oriented to the sun. So when you think about sets, right? We want them to be useful in all directions potentially. We can just consider all directions, but there's a real benefit towards facing the sun. So then I would maybe want the set behind me here. Although anything we build should be a set on all sides anyway, so whatever, it doesn't matter. So, Bosque Village as a set design. Set design is actually something people say they do. It's really interesting. I don't know what a set designer would advise me on this kind of place. I would love some advice. I've shown off the place in a lot of videos, talked about what I have and what I don't have, and ways of filming, methods of filming that fit into a low energy location that is kind of remote with certain social goals to produce propaganda that saves the damn world. It's a fun goal. This is a great little capulin here. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stalks on it, and it has the main stalk here, the big one, and then it's got this one which is almost as big. These can be wrapped around each other in almost any way we want, and it will look cooler later than it will otherwise. That's very simple. Now it's in a spot where it could get run over, but you could take 5-10 minutes at most to weave that together, trying not to break the branches and seeing what you can get away with. Maybe use some string, and that could end up being this amazing artwork. It just looks like a stupid capoline at the moment. I'm just about to machete it down probably, but it could actually be an amazing thing. We're laying in the middle of tons of green resources that have the power of massive life. And even this whole forest out here, I did not create. The system that exists here is creating it. And I'm influencing it, pushing it in directions that I happen to like better. So, yeah, here comes the moon. And now there's a nice little shimmer of cloud across in front of it. I wouldn't say shimmer. Haze. It's not really haze. What is it? I don't know what do you call that, but it's called cirrus clouds. Why do I know that? No, I think cirrus. Well, they might be cirrus. I don't know what else they'd be. No, cumulus, cirrus, cumulonimbus or something. I don't know. Big clouds or something. The clouds don't even know their own names. Doesn't matter if I know them. Not a cloud scientist. We trimmed this tree over here at the view today. We, meaning you guys helped me out. I just said what I wanted. You couldn't walk around here below it before, and we did not reduce its volume very much, but now you can go all the way around it. So we've cleared a ton of space here. I mentioned earlier, what should I do in here, and I just don't know. One problem is that it's a highly functional space, and I actually have a van that needs a van covering to park under, and so it's tempting. I mean, this sounds kind of bad, but put a carport here. It doesn't have to be much. It just has to keep the rain off. I would like it if it hides the car, but then it has to be wider, and then you have to do more work to get into it and do things, and that's a bummer too. So what do we do? Well, we could just make a covering. Also, maybe it's a bad place for the car. You know, maybe we have places that are load and unload spots, and then we park actually cars in places they don't look as ugly. Cars are not pretty. I mean, you know, I like that they do things for me, and I admire beautiful cars. There are some beautiful cars. I would love to have a more useful car, which is my definition of beauty when it comes to cars. But I think maybe that's the answer is, should you park it here? No. This is a high use, very important area. I think maybe it's unload, load zone, load, unload, whatever. And I don't know where, like if there was 10 cars here right now, I could park them all over, but like I actually need a place on the mesa right now where people park their cars. I need a few spots that are close in because I have such low population, doesn't matter. But as the population increases and this use of this increases for things like video, we don't want cars in the shot. I don't like cars in the shot. You know, I don't even like to show my van that much unless I'm driving around and having a good time and seeing little towns and doing stuff. That's fun. But just seeing them parked there, nah, I don't like it. And so, and putting a roof here, I don't feel like it's good. I mean, I could put a small roof off the back of the view and then have some other use for it, but I don't know. I think it's too difficult. Which leaves this area as use unknown. I do think we should probably flatten this, and that's a shovel job. Make it so that we, leave space around the trees and stuff, but this is a flatter area. And all the way back to where the tiles, those will get moved out and used for something. We are above where the doghouse is, and so we need to make a ramp that goes down, partly around, it's already there, partly around the circle, and then cuts down really conveniently and easily down to the doghouse. So yeah, I guess that leaves this space just open as open space. I don't know what. It's not that big a space anyway, it's a little tight. And I'm going to want to have camera access. I'm going to want to be able to have cameras outside of the circle with tripods. And so that's something to think about, is around the entire circle, how can we make sure we preserve as many spots for a 3-legged tripod? And then, and this assumes the circle gets bigger so that they're pushed back a little bit anyway, right? But we want to be able to shoot in at certain angles. And we might have, as many as 3 people shooting a conversation in there. And, maybe there's one camera on a tripod that has an overall shot, or maybe 2 so you can switch between them. But we might have 3 cameras, one on each person, trying to always get the best angle of them and moving not very quickly, and them being cognizant of their camera. Maybe camera person's t-shirt says their name or something, whatever. But that's the kind of thing I want to invent, is different ways of filming things, because there's been a long development of film and television. When you see an old show, you can so tell like what era it was from, except in some rare cases. But there's so many details about filmography and cinematography and this technology available, whether it was sound or not, color or not, how it's acted, the language used, the angles, the speed of it, the pace. So we want to develop a genre here. In this case, what I'm imagining is just a conversation, in a pretty location at the right time. Everybody else needs to be quiet, all around here. Actually, that's true of almost everywhere. Like, don't interfere with the audio channel. We want to reserve that for people who are filming things. And that could be really fun. I'm imagining sort of like, we're doing these Zoom chats with people and podcasts. I guess I'd rather have a podcast where it was so this is almost like an outdoor living room. That's what I'm seeing in my mind. I realize it's not actually there at the moment. But that was kind of part of the original plan. It did have the dome over it. The dome had been to too many festivals, had too much life, and became moderately recyclable plastic crap. So I probably wouldn't, I don't know. I don't know if I do that again or not. I did like that dome a lot, but its primary advantage is that it's portable. And portability is not required here. And so I could also do it for development of new areas, like get tents so that when we, develop an area, we have housing there. I just don't believe that's the best use of resources. I think we need to get really good at building stuff here in the ways we can. So ferro cement is moderately interesting, but there's tons of possible building methods that are really relevant. Now, somehow, I feel like if I'm facing this way, I have enough light. I think I'm proving that we can still keep filming. And what time is it now? You writing this down? I'm not. The easy part is just rambling on. It's 6:47. Let's call that 7 o'clock. That is official sunset time, I believe. Isn't that what I wrote down? 7 o'clock. Right now is what it looks like at sunset on March 25th. It's actually 26th, I think. And it's still doable. So I think this time of day with fill lighting and an early fire in this case would allow the lighting of the fire, but you still have the ambient lighting, right? And then we have any fill lighting, which should be very subtle because we're not fighting against actual darkness. We have this brief window right now where when did we start this? When it was sundown. Sundown was 1 hour early. That means at 6 o'clock on March 25th or 6th, the sun was down enough because it was being blocked by trees. And that's okay. And then now, an hour later, is it really an hour later? Yeah. An hour later, it's fine. So we had an hour. I think that civil twilight is 1/2 hour after sunset. And that's when you still have enough light to walk around. So that gives us a 1.5 hour window that we're making up, that we can film here with subtle fill lighting that make it not seem like we're even artificially lighting the scene. LED, since we have access to power here. They could be the portable ones or they could be plugged in. I would be willing to have some plugged in ones just to use in sets like this. Also, the doghouse has tons of space to hang things. And so there should be lighting up there and who knows where else. I mean, there could be like Christmas lighting, fairy lighting, something like that. We could definitely have little LED lights hanging around if we want to in different spots. So this could be a very set-heavy, intense area. Yeah, I think it's one of the best ones, actually. Yep, got to start somewhere. Every wall that's empty needs to be turned into a set. The back of this building, right now, boring. It could be a set. I don't know what of, but it needs to be something. And we could even use different sets for different specific kinds of shots. We could have a character that is always in a particular set, and it could be, I don't know, I don't have a lot of local English speakers, and I don't do a lot in Spanish. I need to beef that up, but somebody else got to be in charge of that. But it could be that you go and you talk to a certain person in a certain place, and we could even show someone like walking, somewhere, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go walk over and talk to Walter, and then you show him walking on a particular path, and it's always the same one if you're walking towards Walter, and then you get to Walter, and actually the set for Walter's right there and very convenient. So in other words, we could make the place bigger by having a lot of sets that act like an area. I mean, we could even have it so that, well, that's a lot trickier if you got to show somebody walking in somewhere or an entryway, because this is just a wall here. But any other entryway, any other angle we can get, essentially we should start to see the entire place as a set and develop it like that, and then put some places that aren't set because they're off limits for being a set. But that sounds pretty fun to me. And then there's just a brainstorming of what are all the useful sets. I don't think I want to do a lot of I don't want to do a spaceship or something difficult or sci-fi. I think that filming in the current time is the easiest for us, and I think that that's what we should do. I'm trying to develop kind of an aesthetic of the Bosque and how we do things, a method that leads to a genre, and a defined genre that leads to methods to fulfill it, and then developing creativity around that, those limitations in style. So I'm over here now. It's getting a little chilly out, so this is the case where I should have had, if we were going to be filming, right, I should have had my headlamp and my second layer with me already. Because now I just suddenly, unless I was moving around more, as soon as what are we, an hour after, no, we're at sunset, official sunset, right? And we're an hour after the sun actually went down here due to the trees. And so official sunset, it gets too cold here real fast. And so you should already be prepared for any nighttime activities you're going to do prior to an hour before sunset. Yeah. Prior to an hour before sunset, you should have your shit together for nighttime. Have your plan for what you're going to do and how you're going to be a warm, happy person. Oh, this is nice out here. See, this is at the view, and this is at sunset. Now, sometimes the sun illuminates the lake before it goes down, and the lake is actually really pretty. We could use the lake as a background, but usually it's too bright to use, right? Like we've seen that with the camera movement. We could use the portable LEDs before sunset to make it so that the background of the lake was in balance with the person in the foreground. And we can set up specific exact spots where the chairs are, or the set is for that exact shot. In which we can use it more than once. But we have to figure out the lighting and the timing, and that spreadsheet could even have best times to, get the lake in the background with a artificial lighting in the front, because that's where you get these spectacular warm stuff out there. If you were to use a telephoto lens and get back further and then get your audio some other way, you could actually frame in people, so that the island of Venezia was in the background and there was the right kind of curves of branches to have this awesome background for your foreground characters to exist in. This is damn pretty. Oh, man. Oh, my legs are killing me. That's not a bad thing. They're just tired. Actually, there's less background light now, and actually the lighting is better than it was, isn't it? After sunset, the light briefly improves because the sky behind me probably isn't burning me out as much. That's a very interesting thing to note. Somebody else should come here and confirm everything I've said in this video. This is a long, rambly attempt to figure out when is the best time to film at dusk and where, a little bit where. There's tons of other sets in here, all these beautiful stuff. These magueys are going to get really huge. They're going to be squished in with the nopales, the cacti. We're doing some bird of paradise here, but it wasn't apparently, the thing that hurt them the most wasn't the lack of water. I think we only watered them once. But I think it got really cold. This is a very harsh spot in terms of frost and things because it's so exposed. This is the windiest spot because we're at the top of the biggest slope, and that's why we have a view. Well, this is nice warm lighting. I like it. Even this, we could do really subtle warm lighting fills. And I think the key, I don't know why I care if it's subtle. I'm okay if people take a picture and you can tell there was a flash. I don't want to see that all the time, and I think that people should learn to balance their subject and their flash, in this case subject and light, so that the effect that you're adding isn't changing it into a different genre visually. You can tell the camera person's there. And for a lot of types of things, you don't want to really think about that. Now, I don't do fiction here. Somebody could come here and do fiction. It's way low on my list of priorities. Way low. Right now, by the way, it's getting dark enough. We're inside this building. Oh, disturbing birds. Inside this building, it is dark enough that I wish I had my headlamp to go up the stairs. And I actually got trapped the other night down here because it was too dark. Like, look how dark it is in here. And this is another reason to get your headlamp before you need it, right? Because you got to get home. And your activity may go long. You might be having fun. And I want people to be these autonomous, fun machines. Yar, yar. Oh, I like that window right there. Yar. Could also have more lighting in this building. I don't have much. I put all my lighting into sets up here. I'm actually building sets in this building. They're just really deciding what angles make good angles at what times of day to record things at. And if I have enough resources up here I can move around, like a tripod and chairs, then I can create sets until they stabilize and I know that they're useful. So here I am. I'm back. I don't believe this window here has ever been cleaned. I don't think it's ever been cleaned since 2004 when the building was built. Maybe it was, but I don't recall it. Yeah. Oh my God. Bye. I gotta go for a while. It's a long bunch of rambly stuff anyway. I don't know who's interested in this stuff. For sets that are inside to be used at night, well, we need lighting. It's all about the electricity. We should maximize every single one. We should install or plan to install the lighting, figure out all of our angles, use them other times of the day, obviously. But we want them as night sets as well, and so that means we need more solar power. The nice thing is that even a moderately sized solar power system, not the dinky one I have now, would provide plenty of light for us to use LEDs of various kinds. We could even have dimmable LEDs, and we can control the lighting and sets, but we'll tend to stabilize on a particular setup for the sets, right? So we'll get used to using it. And really right now that means the room in the front room of this building, the lodge, various places in the lodge could be used in various ways, and the casita can be used in a couple ways. That's pretty much it for indoor right now. The other cabanas are pretty tight, and they could be developed into something, but they're just so tight. They're best as housing, really. They're not built to be sets. So they're possible too. I mean, who knows? We need to think creatively here, and I shouldn't dismiss things. But we'll focus on the best sets first, because I don't think we'll mess it up. And we can always reset the set. We want to create sets that are highly flexible in their visual nature. So we could even use, for example, the lodge for two different things. Well, we can use it for many things, actually. But we can, with banners and, whatever, we can do a lot. I do have a green screen. It's quite small. And so we could conceivably do green screen things. But until we build a better green screen space, I hardly see the point in trying. What I would like to do is provide the green screen for a well-lit green screen, the size I have, for people who are bloggers and things. So this green screen should actually not end up here, or I should get another one. And the green screen should probably end up in the studio. I forgot about the studio. The studio, we can build a number of really cool sets in there. It's big and it gets good lighting, so all the time. And so the only time you can't use that is when it's raining. So the studio or translucent roofing is actually a solution for having more space during the heat of summer, these months that are dry and the sun is so bearing down upon us. And then also should tell us that we may wish to have parts of any studios we build have polycarbonate roofs, perhaps of different colors, different styles, so that we get a different light. They even sell blue polycarbonate. I mean, I don't know what it's worth to think about, but we can make our list of studio wishes and then figure out which ones are easiest to do, which is outdoors right now, and doing things like figure out what time of day to do things. So we adjust to what exists, and then we try to have a list of what we improve. God, the moon is just gorgeous coming up there. This camera is not even close to the kind that could capture that, so I'm not going to bother trying. It's not made for that. Oh, I didn't feed the dogs, so now I feel like it's all dark because it is in here. Oh, it's nice and warm in here. Yeah, it definitely tells you it's getting cold outside quick. So I'll go feed some dogs. I can't believe how much times I've been up and down these stairs in the last 2 days. I'm getting the leg work out that I would have been getting with a physical therapist all this time. God damn it. I'll shut this off. Hi, honey. How you doing? You want food in that bowl? Honey, food in the bowl. Can you sit? Well, that's very good sitting. That's a good job. Okay, let's stay there. You stay. Nope. Sit. That's a good dog. You're not completely well trained. No. No. Back off. Back off. Back off. Sit. Thank you. We're going to get used to this. It's okay. We'll get through it together. It's just training. It's fine. Good girl. Okay, eat your food. Okay. Yep, good. Okay, who's here? We got Coco Boogie. We got no Cabron. That's okay. Cabron missed dinner last night, so I fed him this morning. Oh, there he is, way over there. This is enough for a dog. This dog really wants food and attention and freedom. Forgot to make the dog sit down. I got other things I think about this dog. There's a lot of issues going on. Hi guys. You're fairly mellow. That's nice. Cabron, you kind of get... Oh, Cabron's staggering over here. Cabron has a limp just as much as I do. Alright, let's do Coco and Boogie. We do Coco first. You're not Coco. You are not Coco. Coco, come here. Coco, this is you. No, don't sit over there. Okay. No, Boogie, not yours. No. Get away. Coco, come here. Coco, this is yours. Come here and get it. Get it, Coco. It's your bowl. No, Cabron, no. Not your bowl. Get out of here. Here, I'll feed Cabron in the other bowl. Cabron, come here. Good boy. That's your bowl. Get that. Boogie, you come with me, okay? Yeah, that's a good Boogie. Let's go do you. Yeah. Coco, go get your food. Okay. No, go get your food, Coco. Coco, you. No! Cabron, get back there. No. Hey! Cabron, no. Wrong bowl. Damn it. Too many dogs and I can't actually move around very fast. Boogie, come here. Boogie! Boogie! Come here. Come on, that's for you. Okay. Come with me, honey. Ah, God damn it. This is not normally as difficult. We are changing the system. Good boy, right there. Yep, you're good. Coco, come here. Come here. You're good. You're a good dog. Yeah. Come with me. Go get your food. It's basically a communication problem. They're good dogs. They want to do good things, but there's a lot of them, and they're learning, where to eat in the right spots. So let's do one more weather check out here. The sky is pretty, and that's something I didn't think about. The camera doesn't pick that up too well. Right now it's this beautiful pinkish tone, and I usually think about the sunrises because we get really great sunrises here. But that's one other benefit of focusing on sunset places and having them be comfortable for people, because you get to enjoy a little show. You get to enjoy the light coming across these clouds here and turning them pink. Beautiful pinks and blues. I don't know how you could ever paint something like that. And then you have the stars come out. Stars won't be as out this tonight because the full moon is coming up. And so if you want a star watch, that's when you do it around your new moon, or when your moon is not coming at a time that disturbs that. We could have star watching every new moon. That'd be really fun. Not as fun for me because I already did it. And the lighting still seems okay, right? Let's check the time. Moon's still coming up. We said sunset was at 7, right? Oh, it's 7:09. So, yeah. So we already came to this conclusion. After sunset is kind of nice. But it's actually continuing to be nice, which is great. And didn't I make up that I think civil twilight's a half hour into it? So, yeah, in about a half hour there'll be no light. So we have an unknown window of time, and whoever's filming things will figure that out. We can also film things over more than one night, So if people remember what clothes they were wearing, or they're wearing it using a costume or whatever, then we could easily have people shoot a particular thing that they're trying to shoot. Even something like a conversation. We could shoot it over a couple nights if we want to. If we don't feel like we finished the job, we still have the sets available. So I don't know if I care about continuity errors like costume changes accidentally, but I don't know if it's a big problem. Okay, so all the dogs are happily eating in their spaces where they're supposed to. And Mayhem has run off somewhere because she already ate her food. Oh, there she is. Hi, Mayhem. Did you eat your food? That's a good girl. Yeah. You did a good job at eating. Yeah. Okay, that's it for me out there, I think. Anything else that happened to people out after this time, which I guess is still just a little bit after sunset, they'd want to have a jacket and stuff. I don't have a jacket with me. So, yeah.